Hello, and welcome to That's Girl Speaks. Today is Thursday, August 30th. Oh my gosh, August is almost over. This is episode 227. 7? I don't know. How are you? I am Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. See, my specs are different than usual. Can't decide if they like how they look on the camera, though. What do you think? It's okay if you don't. It's fine. What am I talking about? Oh, I have paint on my other ones. So I had to dig and find some new ones to wear. Really, it's not that much paint, but it's enough that it's getting to be slightly distracting with my old lady eyes, which are like trying to focus, and they're like, what's that little speck? Oh, okay. You know what I mean? So that's what's going on. Hi, how are you? Are you so excited that my least favorite month of the year is going away? I'm so excited. Okay, I know I cannot totally diss August because it does bring us a lot of the harvest that we rely on for the rest of the year. But in a purely selfish and like self-centered way, over it. I want to wear a sleeve. Not for like modesty or like protecting any of you from my fat arms, because there you go, there's a fat arm right there. It wiggles. Ooh, did you die? No, you're okay. Not that. Just for like the security and comfort that being wrapped in soft cloth brings. One day soon it'll happen. We had like 2 days a couple weeks ago where it only got up to 70. And it was so exciting because I got to wear the fleece, like the sweatshirt jacket to the bus stop. Which of course also means I didn't have to wear a bra. It was very exciting. But that's over now. Isn't that always what happens? You get those few days where you can kind of feel that maybe that you don't live in a hellmouth, and then it comes back again and you're like, oh, da-da-da. But anyway, it'll happen soon. I know that's probably enough of talking about the weather. I already told you I had old lady eyes. I got old lady conversation topics too. If you're new, welcome to how this works. If you're returning, you do better. So this week I have shenanigans-ish. And I have knitting. I don't have any spinning to show you because I'm still working on the same fiber. I'm just keep on chugging through that gray. I've got, 14 ounces probably done? Almost 2 8-ounce bobbins. And then I gotta determine if I'm gonna do just 2-ply and do it that way, or if I'm gonna spin a third bobbin. I don't know. I would like to do a sweater out of it. And I'm kind of thinking it'd be fun to do a bulky sweater, even though that's crazy talk. But how fun would it be to like have a hand-spun Care Beth? That'd be fun. Or some other sweater, whatever. But I think the Care Beth cardio looks super cute with all of the like dress number ones and all of like the tunic-y length shirts. I think would be smashing. And maybe I want one out of corduroy. Can I pull it off? Of course not. Will I? Sure. Again, you won't die. You'll be struck down by the side of me. You'll be okay. So yeah, I've been like, I need a pinwheel, what's that dress that I wear? Painted portrait dress. I need a pinwheel, one of those. Eek. Okay. I need that. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know. Oh, my handspun. So that's what's going on in that front. But let's talk about shenanigans. We did our first apple picking of the season. It was pretty exciting. They didn't have a did we talk about this? See, I'm like, I recorded apple butter, so that'll be up in September as a bonus episode. Because so many of you like the jalapeno one, and I'm so glad at least like 2 or 3 people said that they were going to can something. Which I'm pretty sure means I'm going to get like a toaster in the mail. Right? From like the canning conversion people. I don't know. I think so. I got people in the club. I want my pyramid scheme rewards. So Oh, so I did an apple butter recipe that'll be up in September. Thank you to patrons of the podcast who contribute via patreon.com/thefatsquirrel. And on the blog at thefatsquirrel.com, there's a yellow PayPal donate button. Also, if you need show notes for anything that happens, I don't always remember to say that, so you can find it at thefatsquirrel.com. Usually I put them in the YouTube notes too, but there's not like a good linking system there. So hopefully linkably, like clicky notes could be at thefatsquirrel.com. Okay. So I did an apple, so I can't remember if I told you this or if I told you this in the future, or there may be overlap. But you're just folding laundry anyway, right? So it's okay, you won't remember. It's like that audiobook that you're like just cruising along through and all of a sudden something happens and you're like, wait, that sounds like a well-developed character that I don't have any familiarity with at all. Oops. So, apples. We didn't pick Akanis this year. Those are usually my first pick of the year. We get Lodies in July, but they're like a super soft apple, and you have to use them within like 10 seconds of picking them or they just like disintegrate. That's not at all true, but kind of. Also, they're fragile like delicate flowers, so you gotta be careful with how many you pack in a bag, because just like the pressure of the other apples on them will tear them apart. That's actually a good recommendation in general. If you are doing U-Pick, be aware, if you have small children and they're like swinging that bag around for funsies, stop them. There is no fun in the orchard. And also if you pick a half bushel bag, which is pretty big, which is like 20 pounds of apples, just be mindful of the fact that that apple that's on the bottom is getting a lot of weight pressed onto it. And so while if it stays like that for very long, that apple will bruise and go bad usually. Especially if they're not a storing apple, like a very firm fleshed apple. That's more likely to happen in your softer apples. Okay, like back to Lodies. So Lodies are not a great apple. They're really like, they're a sauce apple, but they're not a great eating apple. We usually get Akanis, but this year they had like no season for them. The climate was just bad for them this year. I don't know exactly why. But we did pick Cortlands, which are a great saucing apple. And let me just discuss. Let's just take a pause. If you're not listening to me, I feel you. But listen now for just a second. Are you listening? Put down the washcloth, Martha. Listen. If you've not made homemade applesauce, please do so. Even if you don't like applesauce. Now, if you hate applesauce, then don't worry about it. Whatever. But if you've eaten applesauce and been like, whatever, just make some homemade applesauce. It will like explode at least like 3% of some region in your brain that knows what good things are to eat. Not kidding you. Have you done it? It's insane. I do not care for jarred applesauce. I mean, I would eat it at my mama's house if it was part of the dinner. And like, I just feel like I should take some because she put it out. But she doesn't do that because she makes fried apples because we're country people, y'all. But applesauce is dead easy. Now, you do kind of want... You don't have to use a softer apple, but if you use a firm apple, like a later apple, or just, again, a real firm fleshed apple, it'll be a little bit more work to cook it down. But like, especially like a Cortland or something similar, you just peel that dude, core it, roughly chop it, throw it in a pan with enough water that there is water in the pan to keep it from sticking until it breaks down, but not so much water that it's like floating in water. That's bad. And I'm sure you can find a million recipes. Just Google homemade applesauce. They're all going to be the same. They're going to be fine. And then just sugar to taste. Don't go crazy with the sugar, because if you go crazy with the sugar, it's going to taste like canned applesauce. And you'll be like, what did this woman tell me this for? Right? I know. I hear you. I hear future you. But it's amazing. And it's dead easy. You don't need any special equipment. Peel the apple, cut it up, core it. Cut it up, put it in a saucepan, a little bit of water, a little bit of sugar. Let it cook until it's soft. There's no like specific it needs to cook X amount of time, because again, every apple is different. But cook until it's soft enough so that you can just mash it with a potato masher. Okay, that's kind of special equipment, but that's pretty standard. Just if your family's super picky, you can either do an immersion blender and smooth it out, or if you, a food mill if you have to, but I don't recommend that. That's too much work. It's delicious. Although I will tell you, you'll want to eat way too much of it. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, did I just eat 7 apples worth of applesauce? Yes, you did. Because it's yummy. There's fiber in it. It's fine. So we picked apples, and then I made a bunch of apple butter, and I filmed how I did it, so I'll put that up on the website next week. Not next week, maybe. Next week's a holiday week. In a few weeks, in September. So that hopefully you can be inspired to make apple butter too, because it is also so delicious. Just saying. So we did that this week, and then also this week, I made some more reusable sandwich bags. Now you may recall I made these guys with what's that brand? Pelon, the interfacing company, makes a fusible food safe plastic, but like I was okay with them. I wasn't like these are garbage, but I was not quite sad. They're very stiff. You can hear them, right? They're very stiff. And they were kind of time consuming because I had to get out of serger, and I don't have a serger out. Now, because I am a craft sewist for a full-time job, my sewing machine is always out, but my serger is not. So if I have to get out the serger, like I need to feel like there's a good reason. And if ever you're like, I wish I'd just sew more, it's just because your machine's not out, and I feel you. I don't know what it is about that, but it's just like such a barrier to get past. Anyway, so I had to serge the edges, or at least I felt like I should, and then sew it together. And I just was not, I mean, they were fine, and they're totally functional, and we will continue to use them, but I was not in love with them. Somebody on the comments of that YouTube episode suggested that she has used a food safe PUL, which I did not even know was a thing, because the ones I had seen like through the company where I buy fabric were and what does PUL stand for? I don't know. But it's like kind of like what you make or what you can make the outside of like the soak. Like you put the baby in the diaper that's cloth, and then you put the thing around it. Whatever that's called. I use disposable diapers. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's called. But that little thing that you wrap around the cloth diaper. And you can also use to make. Anyway, it's frequently available in like baby prints. So it's baby something. I don't know. But like most things say that it's not food safe. And so I just assumed that that was like a general thing. But there is a place that makes a PUL that is food safe. They're called like Wazoodle or something. Oh, PUL stands for polyurethane laminate. Just laminated cotton. But Wazoodle, yeah, Wazoodle. I'll try to remember to put the note in the show notes. The link. But they do make a food safe PUL. And it's not like a regular cotton. In fact, it's like a knit. But here it is. And this is like kind of stretchy. See, I don't know if you, it's got good give to it. It was very easy to work with. And this is just like some quilter's cotton. This is cotton and steel, like a basics. Because my kid is like not, she's at that age, right? Where she's like, can't have anything that's at least even remotely cute, because that's not okay. Which I kind of dig about her. I would have been the exact same way. Anyway, so and of course I had to make it orange because dude, I still have to make them. So it definitely is something I would, it's like a knit coated with plastic. So I guess you wouldn't have to necessarily do something to keep it raveling, because it didn't unravel at all when I was cutting it or anything like that. But it's, I think it's a little too thin to just use by itself. You know what? Let me go get some to show you. That would make more sense. Okay, so I'm back. So it's this, it has one side that is like the cloth side, and then one side that is the plasticky side. You can see that from the difference in sheen. It does not ravel. Like, you can't get it to ravel, so there's a slight different, like a slight frayishness, but not really at all. So you wouldn't, if you just, I guess theoretically you could just make one out of this. It just seemed too soft to me. But you totally could. That would totally be durable enough, I think. But also I knew my kid would want an orange one. So I had to tone it down. But I think you could just use this. But anyway, so what I did was just cut 2 pieces like this, put their wrong sides together. Now I used this as the right side of the lining because I wanted that wipeability factor, which is very convenient. For especially things like grapes or things like that, which can have a little bit of stickiness to them, but don't warrant an entire wash. So I used that as my right side. It was also easier to sew with this side going through the machine. This side you would probably need to use a walking foot or something like that if you were going to sew with this as a exposed side. That makes sense. So I just put the rectangles together, right sides together, sewed around with a little gap, turned it inside out, and then just folded it and then sewed around there. Boop, boop, boop. Right? I didn't iron it or anything like that. You don't need to. Because this is pretty stretchy, you can just press out the little corners and they're fine. And so then I just sewed around it and put on a few snaps. Now I did put the snaps on the edges because this is a sandwich bag and I knew if I put a snap in the middle it would smash the sandwich. But on the little ones I just put one snap in the middle. I totally dig these. And Tova likes them too. And they're much squishier. And they sound nicer. And you don't have to put a zipper in them. Not that it's a pain to put a zipper in, but it's bulky and like stiff. Somebody asked why I didn't use Velcro, because that's like a very common thing. And I just have to admit that I have a weird thing about Velcro and that I don't like it. It's dumb and it's just like a weird me thing. But there's so much string in my house, like at all times. Like I am constantly covered in string. No joke. If you come knock on the door, A, I will run away because I'm definitely not wearing a bra. But B, I will have to lint roll myself because I'm covered in string all the time. Except on the weekend when I'm not working. So Velcro gets those strings in it and it irrationally makes me tweaky. Like I can't handle it. It's a dumb, weird thing that makes no sense. And I'm not judgy about your Velcro. I'm not looking at your Velcro. I'm not trying to figure out if you've got string in your Velcro or not. In fact, I'd rather just not even see your Velcro. But strings in my Velcro freaks me out. And I'm not a particularly good laundress who will like remember to like segregate the Velcro. And so it's just going to go into everything. It's going to get string on it. So snaps are the way to go for me. Now I did use plastic snaps, and that's because the metal snap setter thing is like $80. Like the thing that sets the metal snaps. You can also use there's like a way you can use like a little tool and then hammer it. But I remember that when I was a kid and it was awful. Maybe space made the times and the iPods and the Apple made it better, but I don't think so. I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. So that was my own bias of like being afraid to try the metal snaps. But the plastic snap setter thing, I brought it over for you. It's like it's like $7 or $8. And the plastic snaps seem relatively durable. I don't know long term. But they seemed like they were relatively durable. I had one thing that I set the snap too hard on and I did kind of crack the edge of the snap. But I've probably set 50 snaps and that's the only time it happened. I think I was just too aggressive with the doodly-doo. Of course you're a knitter, so you have good hand strength, so there's nothing to tell you about. But if you do have issues with hand strength, that's probably going to be a problem. But most of us are pretty, and you can put it on a table and just balance it with one hand and press it on the other if you need to, if you do have issues. But yeah, they're like, sadly on Amazon, sorry, but like this wasn't available locally. And then you can get whatever color snaps you want. But, so it seemed like it was an affordable way to enter into it. Because again, it was not, the only snap sitters that had good reviews were like $80. And I just was like, that's too much for me to enter into. So the plastic ones work pretty well. And you can get them in a bajillion cutie colors too. But, so anyway, so yay that. I'm excited about these. I think they worked. Here's the first one I did. I put 2 snaps on it, but it's totally not necessary. Not necessary at all. But anyway, they're super easy. Okay, so after I recorded the episode, I realized that I was showing you sandwich bags in the fabric of the shirt I was wearing, but hadn't mentioned that I had made the shirt I was wearing, which I felt like might confuse you. So then I recorded a segment where I was wearing my shirt and talking about it briefly. And then I realized about 10 minutes into, well, not 10 minutes, that's way too long. A few minutes into the recording, I realized I wasn't actually wearing a real bra. I was just wearing like a comfort bra. And then I was like, oh, I'll just put it up anyway. Who cares? And then last night I was like, that's a dumb idea. So I'm going to re-record this bit. Okay. So we're in a different location because it's early in the morning. I want to try to get this out and up on the website. So that's why the background's funky and there might be some like super morning glow happening on my face. So the shirt I was wearing in today's episode is the Ruby Top. I think it's called the Ruby Top made by Ray, which is the designer of the washi dress. So I think early in the summer of, what year is this, 2018? But maybe not. Maybe it was last year. I don't know. Anyway, she released that pattern in larger sizes. Traditionally, her patterns are kind of like that, like 42 is the upper bust size. And I've already ranted about that, so let's not start again. But, so she released that specific pattern up to a 3X. Now, it's not like what you would think of like as a 3X off the shelf. It's still smaller than, like this shirt is a 2X and it fits. It's knit, but do you know what I mean? So the 3X still did not fit. So anyway, I knew I needed to grade it up. And I bought the PDF. I don't know if that one is available in a printed pattern or not, but I bought the PDF and what I decided to do was instead of printing off the pages and then taping them together, which I had tried to do with the washi dress at one point and then stalled because I also had to grade it and it was just like too stressful. So I decided to get it printed at a copy shop. And so I don't know if you know this, but you can get sewing patterns. Now, not all pattern designers offer this option, but for all their patterns, like for example, I don't think the washi dress is available in a copy shop format. But basically what you're doing is getting them printed like on blueprint paper size. And so then you can just trace it off of there and ta-da, you're ready to go. But what I did not realize was I had 2 files to print. I printed this one and then another dress pattern, which I have yet to make. And so the other dress pattern is fine. And I select, but this one is not actually appropriately scaled. For example, when you get them, usually the designer will put a little square on there that says this should be 3 by 3. Well, you can see this is definitely not 3 by 3. What did I say that it was? Oh, who knows? But essentially, it was like a 25% increase. So I think what they did is just fit it to the page rather than leaving it at the standard, because there are 2 different blueprint sizes of paper that you can get. And the second file needed to be on this larger format. This file I think could have gone on the smaller one. And so neither here nor there. Either way, they, instead of printing it exactly the correct size, the actual size, they went ahead and blew it up to fit the page. So that's a lot of that to say. I needed the pattern bigger anyway. And it actually worked out that I needed it about 25% bigger. However, that's not really the best way to grade a pattern because, let me see if you can tell from this. Okay, yeah, let's look at, well, for example, like here's one of the bodice pieces. Like you can see that the smallest size and the largest size are not like a direct percentage morph of one another, right? Like they all share this line in common, and then they all share the upper part of the yoke in common. So when you blow that up by 25%, you're increasing the whole thing by 25%. Versus when you're grading the pattern, that center fold and then that part of the yoke would stay rigid as I blew up this part. Does that make sense? So what it created, the top that I have has a really big armhole, but I think that is, at least in part, it's probably largely in part to the way that, again, since this was a 25% blow up versus an actual grade of the pattern. So I need to mess around with that. I actually made it, I think, before SSK. So it's been in the in circulation for a while. But I just haven't worn it that often because the arm size is big enough that you can actually see my bra. But like my fat arms cover it, so I don't know why I'm worried about it, but because it's not like I'm outside like, woo, hey everybody, I'm grocery shopping, you know? I don't know why I'm like self-conscious about it. And I still have worn it in public, don't get me wrong. I'm fairly shameless. Actually, that's not true. I have so much shame, but luckily I've had so much shame through my entire life that you just learn to work with it, right? Right. So, it's like baseline shame, and I've grown accustomed to it. But, what was I going to say? Oh, so I did add pockets to it. I added the pocket from dress number 1, which is just like a patch pocket that you put on the front. And that's because my stupid yoga pants don't have pockets in them because patriarchy. So I do like to have a pocket because otherwise I'm just like looking for stuff all day long, right? So, but anyway, so that's it. I need to rework it. I need to get in there and rework it because as I was talking to you yesterday that you're not going to see, I had this revelation as I was about to finish recording the little extra bit, that it would be super cute in a pinwheel corduroy. Right? You're like, no, yes. Can I pull it off? Certainly not. Do I care? Not so much. I think I will enjoy myself in a pinwheel corduroy ruby top. And if you don't, you won't die. So I don't say I'm hurting you. But, yeah, so I don't know. I have this, like, because originally I don't know if this was in the other part of the episode or not. Originally, I've been fantasizing about getting a pinwheel painted portrait dress, making one of those up, which I still am excited about because it's like super roomy and comfy and cute. And this is the same thing. This ruby dress is the ruby top, excuse me, is very similarly made. It has a yoke. There's a different yoke for the front and the back. So the front yoke is a little bit higher, so it hits above the bust, which is why I'm not entirely sure that the large arm side is completely due to the pattern being blown up versus graded, because the yoke fits appropriately. And I did in fact shorten the yoke because I knew that my pattern was not correct in the way it had been enlarged. And I also shortened it because it would have been like dress tunic length. So I'm not sure that it's entirely due to the fact that I blew up the pattern, because I did make accommodations for that, but I can't say unless I actually do it correctly. So I'm reserving judgment. However, it is true that a lot of shirt patterns are with this deeper side anymore. Anyway, that's me talking a lot. So I was thinking about making a pinwheel painted portrait dress. I think that'd be super fun and cute and snuggly. I really like corduroy anyway. Sometimes I'm not quite brave enough to wear it because it does feel like a little bit out there, but whatever. I'm already wearing my house dresses. Corduroy is only like a half step further. Maybe not even a half step. It's like 3/8 of a step further. So I think it's fine. I'm going to go with it. But anyway, so that was the revelation that I had at the end where I was like, oh, yes. Super snuggly corduroy clothing all winter long. Okay. And I think that's all I had to say. So back to the regular part of the show. Oh my gosh. So yeah, the only other shenanigans are like shenanigans of a hopeful future. Do you follow Andrew Sue Knits on Instagram? You really should. You definitely need to. Unless you don't use social media, and then I get you. I feel you. It is a time. But she's working, she has in the past worked on these crazy beautiful punch needle things. She's currently working on this insanely beautiful hooked rug, which is, she uses the Oxford needle, which I've heard wonderful things about, but I have not used one. I may have just ordered one. Because I wanted to last year, I think, about this time. And then something came up and I thought, I don't have time to do that right now or whatever. And like, just put that on the list with like learning to play the banjo and the other things that you want to do, but just, come on, be reasonable. By the way, the banjo thing is really bothering me lately. Maybe I should buy myself a late 40th year birthday person. I don't know, I'm just saying. Back to Bunches. So then I started following the rug hooking hashtag on, because so much rug hooking that I have seen in the past has really primarily been the wool strips, which I dig. It's gorgeous, but I don't have a stash of wool strips, and so I cannot, in any good conscience, add another craft that requires more storage into my life, because like we're literally splitting at the seams. Now that's not to say that in 2 days I won't be like, oh my gosh, I've discovered trapunto and that is my new jam. Okay, because I'm not going to say that because it could happen. But at this point, so I've always liked the aesthetic of it, but the punch, the Oxford needle, primarily, you can use the wool strips too, but one of the great things about it, it's very convenient to use yarn. And anyway, if you follow it on Instagram, the rug hooking thread is full of yarn ones. Like there are definitely like the wool strips, but I think maybe even the majority of it is a yarn now. So I'm really jazzed about it. And I may be fantasizing about like rug hooked tea cozies. You're going to see me at Reinbach. I'm going to have like a rug hooked dress on. It's going to be crazy. No, I'm not. It'll be way too. But you know what I mean? You're just like, your brain is just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. It's so lovely. It's gorgeous. Again, I theoretically have almost everything I need, except all the actual stuff you need to do it. Tools-wise. Whatever. It looks fun and beautiful and like the loveliness of wool, which I enjoy so much. But, I mean, right? Aren't you just looking for other ways to use wool in your life at all times? If I was a fancy, fancy rich lady, wool carpets everywhere. This would be amazing. Right. Delicious. Okay, so let's talk about actual knitting. I think I've rambled enough. I have not yet blocked my Buccaneer shawl, but I did finish this. I finished my Midas hat, and I apologize. I don't know who that's by, but I'll put it in the show notes. I think I say that literally every time we talk. I can't find the back. I wove in the ends too well. So this is my Midas hat, and this is yarn from Nomad Yarns. This is her in the Burrow, from the Burrow. It's one of her Harry Potter colorways. Are you loving it? So this is a self-striper, and some of you are probably cringing that I use a self-striping yarn to not do a real self-striping project like mitts or socks or something, but I love these colors so much, and I love fingering my hats so much. They're so useful in my everyday life once August is over. But isn't it cute? and this is a great mindless knitting project if you're looking for one. You probably want to get the brim done. It is a hemmed brim. So you cast on, I think she has you cast on provisionally, right? You work until you get to this point, then you work like a purl, you do an increase, you work a purl row, and then you go and actually join these together with like knit two togethers to join the hem together. You don't have to do any sewing. Anyway, I dig that so much. And you can probably see too at the top, it got stripier. Anyway, I dig these colors so hard. I don't know if you got to see them as much as they were on my head. But are they not gorgeous? It's like all the beautiful earth tones and then that grayish blue that just, Right. I'm going to wear it even though it's warm. I don't care. Even though it doesn't match my shirt, I don't care. You don't have to boss me. Except you kind of are a little bit in this process, but whatever. Oh, come on, fall. Also, how much am I looking forward to wearing hats to hide my hair and keep it out of my face? I'm totally looking forward to it. Moving on. So the next thing that you've already seen is oh my gosh, what's this stupid sweater called? I don't even remember. It's a sweater by Ysolda Teague. That's right. Threipmuir or something like that. By Ysolda Teague. And it is with Harrisville Designs. Right. How exciting is that crap? So I've got 5 inches from the underarm. Right, it looks totally good with this hat. I should just wear it like this. This is super cute. I'm going skiing. But, I love it. And even though I totally just chipped my nail, which I don't care about in the aesthetics of, but it keeps catching on everything. Anyway, highly recommend the pattern. I'm on the boring part now. I'm doing some bust decreases. I'll start adding in some butt increases before I know it. Basically, I'm just shifting stitches from the front to the back of the sweater and then adding a little bit more in the back because I've got a big butt. So there it is. Isn't it gorgeous? Harrisville yarn is so wonderful to work with. It is not a soft yarn if that's the thing that you are requiring in your life. But it's wonderful. The yellow is mustard. The reddish is topaz. The blue is Loden blue. And it is beautiful. This pattern, of course, is super enjoyable. I talked more about that last week. Now I just have a lot of boring knitting to do. But the yarn's pretty pleasant to work in. Okay, now let's show you some things you haven't seen. I cast on a new pair of socks, and these I'm just using toe up Afterthought heels. This is Knit Spin Farms self-striping. Oh my gosh, did you see that she's having what is she? I can't remember what she called it, but like a lesser known holidays yarn club for self-striping. How fun is that? I'm so excited for all of you, and I can't wait to see the colorways. It's gonna be so cute. But this is one of her very first self-striping. I got it at Knitting Pipeline Retreat, and it was a discounted skein because look, there's one white bit in it. I love dyers. And it's so gorgeous. This is a sport weight. Did I say that this is a sport weight Targhe? And I apologize, I don't know what color it is because I picked the tag up specifically to be like, oh yes, that's right, I need to remember that. But I somehow have lost it. It's called something Irishy though. Isn't it gorgeous? And I cannot tell you how gorgeous it is either. Like the fluffy lump, like the Targhe yarn, there's something about it that feels like almost swollen. But like in a fruitful good way, not like in a cellulitis way. Just like in a way, right? So that combined with these really luscious greens is just amazing. And did I tell you, I did say that this specifically was discounted because it has like one tiny white blip in it every once in a while. Isn't it gorgeous? So anyway, I can't describe to you like the intense yumminess of this. But there you have it. Oh my gosh. I'm crazy, but you are too, so I know you understand. There's one of you out there that's like, I don't know about that. I don't want to be in your club, lady. You don't have to be, it's okay. And then the other thing I need to show you that I haven't shown you, I started on my husband's mitts for the winter because his were looking pretty raggedy. So I am making a pair of Frankenfingers. And that pattern is by Elizabeth Green Musselman. Does she make applesauce? Anyway, it's written for self-striping fingering weight yarn. And I have some chain-plied BFL nylon, I think. But I don't know whose dyer is because, again, you'd think I did a professional thing like have a podcast. But it's been in stash for a very long time. And my husband, who always wants blue stuff, randomly wanted this one. So I was like, okay. So it's cuffed fingers. He has big hands. That's why it looks so big on me. But, right. How cute is that? So I think I do prefer, like there are some gloves and things like that that go finger down. But I do actually prefer doing cuff up, I think, because having to do all these sums at the beginning, the fingers at the beginning, is just like a hurdle too high. You know what I mean? Like, ease me into it. I gotta be tricked into being like, well, I've already knit this much on this thing. I guess I gotta finish. You know what I mean? So my yarn is probably a sport weight. So I made the medium size, the adult small for him, even though he's like an adult large size hand. But it's ribbed, so wonderful, right? It'll stay. It'll maintain its stretchiness and bounce back, even though you've got some nylon and it's super washy. So yeah, I highly recommend that pattern if you're looking for a fingerless mitt. I have this and this. I am striping it with the red from my sweater because I had exactly 300 yards of this yarn and it said it required a minimum of 300 yards, or it required you to have at least 300. No. Yeah? Yeah, at least 300 yards. How does the English language work? I'm not sure anymore. So I thought, well, I'll add in a few of these stripes, which I think go anyway. And they totally do. Like, it's an amazing match, actually, for the yarn. But this is that Harrisville tweed, the Harrisville yarns, Shetland, in the Topaz colorway. So I just added 5 stripes. They're 2 stripes, 2 row stripes with 3 rows in between them, just to give me a little bit of extra in case I had, and I thought that way if I needed to I could make the fingers all that color and it would tie in, but I'm gonna have plenty of yarn, it's fine. So there's that. And then I think that is all the knitting. Oh my gosh, did we talk forever? It just seemed like it. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll edit some stuff out because I think that might have been way too much of me talking. But if you are curious about shop things, there may be an update before Needles Up because I may need to like buy groceries or something. But at this point, I don't have an update planned until after Needles Up. So I will, of course, update you if that changes. But I will be at Needles Up, which is the Friday before Reinbach. Are you going to Reinbach? The New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So I will be there the Friday before New York Sheep and Wool, and you can find all the information on the Needles Up website. You can just Google Needles Up. There's going to be super awesome vendors. Just a few hours in the afternoon. It'll be super chill and low key. You get to visit a little bit. It'll be nice. You should totally come. And so I'm getting ready for that. I'm really excited. It's so fun to do fall bags anyway. So that is a great thing that's happening. But I don't know that I'll have an update before that, but I might. We'll just see if I have time. My mom is going to help me with those bags, so that is a blessing. Thank you. Oh, and my parents will be at Needles Up again this year and the festival as well, as will my daughter at this point. I think Mama may have bribed her with literal cash to come. We'll see. Just don't expect a lot. She's in that like angsty preteeny mode. So she'll probably just be like a lot, but at least I don't have to worry about her being home by herself during the daytime when Papa's at work. Anyway, I think that's all for now, and I get an apple butter episode up in the beginning of September sometime, and I'll see you in a few weeks for another podcast. Bye.